It's a pleasure to have the delightful Ozak here with us today. I met her, gosh, I can't remember how many years ago, but I met her through the, when she joined the Esther's mentoring scheme, the mentoring scheme that we run for women at our local church. And she, she's one of those who, let me put it this way, the life and soul she was the life and soul of that particular semester. 20, okay, 20, oh, really? Was it 2019?
That's
Oh,
2019. Yes.
see, I thought it was like 2017 or 2016 or something. Oh, that's only about 3 years.
Yes. Yes, 3
Wow.
years.
Okay.
It feels longer, I know.
Yeah, it does feel longer. I guess also because of the pandemic, the 2 years or so that we've lost. And yeah, she and I think there's another lady on Modeshola. They were just amazing. She was into everything. She's one of those. Ozak is one of those where if she wants to do something or she's doing something, she puts her all in it. She doesn't do things half-heartedly. I don't think so. You do it.
Yeah.
I guess for you, it's what doing well. If I'm in it, I might as well just do it properly, which is very good. Which is what, EMS looks so good on you. Yeah. So it was lovely having you being part of the mentoring scheme that you guys went for a retreat, didn't we? All went for a retreat.
Yes, we all went to a retreat together. Yes. Yeah.
Because I just some groups did, but I think I remember your group. A retreat. I think yours was probably the last retreat we went on.
Yes, because of the pandemic. So we were like November 2019 when we had the mentoring retreat.
Great. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about breaking the bias, gender equality, today for sustainable tomorrow. And I thought Ozak would be a lovely person to have on to talk about this. And I'll tell you a little bit about her. She can tell us more or add more to it. So this young lady was born and raised in Nigeria. And then she moved to the UK. She spent about, I think, 12 years here. And now she lives in Switzerland.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Okay. And look at how she's an award-winning chartered electronic and electrical engineer. I didn't even know there was a difference between electronic and so maybe you might explain because I didn't know until you sent it to me. And she works at I think STEM engineering. Yes. You can explain that further to us. Okay. And but also one of the reasons why she's here is because she's also a champion for climate. What do you call it now?
Climate change.
Climate change. That's it. But Ozak, I think I will let you talk a bit more about what you do because you'll probably be able to explain it better than I do. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
So good afternoon, everyone. I see a lot of my friends on here. Thanks for joining and all the new people as well. So I'm Ozak Esu. I am Nigerian. So I was born and raised in Nigeria. Actually, I'm British Nigerian. I always forget that part, but as of 2019, I am. But I'm Nigerian and I was born and raised in Nigeria. And I am an electronic and electrical engineer, chartered electronic engineer. So what that means is, so electronics basically is your smartphones. Electrical is your power connection that charges your smartphone. That's the best way to explain it. So it's two different things, but they kind of almost work together these days. So I studied electronic and electrical engineering. So I finished all my high school education, everything in Nigeria. And in Nigeria, you go straight to university after high school. Yeah. But very early on, my parents knew I wasn't going to study in Nigeria. They wanted me to go to Ghana to study. So when I finished, I went to school. So I'm from Cross River State, Calabar. I grew up in Calabar and I did everything in Calabar. So I finished 16 and we started looking it was time for me to go to university, but I think my WAEC results wouldn't be out until after a couple of months. So my parents didn't want me sitting at home, idle, not doing anything for a whole year. So they sent me to this A-level school. I think, I couldn't come into Ghana Kumasi until I was 17.
Okay.
And so I went to this A-level school in Lagos, Oxbridge. And while I was there, the teacher started talking about UCAS and applying to go to the UK, etc. And it was all new to me. I hadn't heard this before. And I just, I applied like they said, and I got offers from the schools I had applied to. And that's how I ended up in the UK, going to Loughborough University.
Okay.
While I was there, I studied electronics and electrical engineering. I really liked it. The reason why I always wanted to be an electrical engineer, well, I went through phases. There was a part where I wanted to be a doctor, and then I saw blood in the hospital. It was a bit too much for me, so I thought I need to find something else.
Okay.
And then I went through this phase where I wanted to be a pilot, but like my parents weren't really excited about that idea. Always in the sky, and I was like, have ambitions, but like, can we find something on ground? Yeah. So I think I hung on to electronics and electrical because at the time as well in school we used to do these essays where you write about rainforest conservation. Being from Cross River, we had those, and it was very it was in my forefront. I was very aware of what was happening with like oil, for example, in Port Harcourt, and the devastation it was causing to people's way of life, and still causing till this day, So I remember saying, I don't remember this, but my parents say back as to the time, and I think it was on the news, and they were talking about, like people have died again from inhalation and also from an oil spill. Yeah. And I said, whose job is it to fix electricity? And my dad says usually it's electrical engineers that do that. I always had an experienced power cuts myself, like you want to watch something, NEPA, just take light. So it's like, and I used to love watching TV, cartoons. Oh my God. When I'm watching something, I get lost in it and you can't get my mind off of it except to take the light. And he says it's an electrical engineer or a chemical engineer that does that job. So I remember saying, I don't want to do chemical engineering because it's the one that causes explosions. Obviously, that's not true. I want to dispel that myth right now. Chemical engineers are also part of cleaning up, but back then that was my own bias I had towards chemical engineers, that they were the ones drilling all this oil, causing all this havoc, and leaving the rest of us with no fishes in our water, polluted air, la 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 la. But that's not true. That's not. My sister is a chemical engineer, so that's not true. We know now that they are also part of the solution, but for that time. So I just decided I was going to go and study electronic and electrical engineering, and that's how I ended up studying electronic and electrical engineering. Fast forward to Loughborough, I was now at Loughborough, and I finished my undergrad, and the university offered me a scholarship to go straight to my PhD. I think my sister said, break the bias, because I said chemical engineers. So they gave me a scholarship to go straight to my PhD, and in my PhD.
Excuse me, you missed out the fact that you got a first class.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you didn't want to flex like that. Okay. I graduated with a first class degree from Loughborough University, and at the time they only offered scholarships to I think they're called studentships to UK nationals only. But I think in my year the UK national that they offered it to, so the person who got a high grade as well, passed over. He wanted to go into industry, and so then I was given the scholarship to then go straight to my PhD. So I didn't do a master's, which is my flex now. That's true.
You went straight to PhD.
Yes. So Loughborough really changed the. I don't know. I think actually Oxbridge itself changed the path for me, I would say. I was very happy going to Kumasi, going to Ghana. I had visited several times. Shout out to the Ghanaians, Becky, in the group, in the call. No disrespect to Ghana. I had been, my brother studied there. And my dad worked there for 1 year on his sabbatical. He's an academic who works in the university. And so I'd been there, but I was familiar with Ghana. So if someone's offering you Ghana and offering you the abroad, I mean, no offense, Ghana, I love you, one love, Charlie, but no, I was like, I'm gonna go to the UK instead, and I'm really grateful for that turning point. So I arrived in the UK, I was 17 for my undergrad, and it's 3 years, which is a lot quicker than most parts of the world. And so finished 2020, I started my PhD, and then from there on, it became.
Let's go. You started your PhD at 20.
Yes, I did. I started my PhD
Wow.
at 20. So many people always wonder why, like, some people will say they feel like I've done so much, but like when they see my age, that is why. Along the way, certain things have happened. So even A levels, the A levels I did at Oxbridge was something called accelerated A levels. So
Okay.
it's your AS and A2 in 1 year. Now, it wasn't because I was super smart. It was just, as I explained before, the goal was just to keep me busy for 1 year while I waited for that admission
Yeah.
to go into university.
Yeah.
But having said that, there were Nigerians at that school, my friends for Lake, said they were getting A stars, doing AS and AT in 1 year. So yeah, you can't. There's something about Nigerians that I don't know. I can't wrap my head around it, but it's crazy. But I wasn't one of those people. I got 3 C's. So, but we
Yeah.
talk about that now. We moved on from that. Nobody asks about A levels these days. Everybody's like, no, we just put that back behind us and not talk
But
about.
it shows that that didn't matter. Look at where you ended up. Look at where
Yes, it
you
really
ended up.
doesn't. It really doesn't. So for any young people, especially in the UK who are listening,
Yeah.
when you get your A level results, it's very important that you call the university on that day.
Yeah.
So, like for me, when my results came out, I was rejected by my firm choice, which was University of Birmingham. Like I didn't want to go to Loughborough. Let's just put that out there. I mean, if I'm going to the UK, I want to go big. If we're going to London, Birmingham, a city. I couldn't even pronounce it. Like how do you actually pronounce that? Like where is that? That was how I was. But the reason why my parents chose it was because it was on the top 4 for electronics and electrical
Okay.
engineering in the
Okay.
UK. That's how we made it onto that list. But personally, I wasn't going to go. So my results came out and we were in the house. And I remember very well, my mom, Ghana had already started the semester. Kumasi had already started the semester. So I was actually running late. And if I didn't go in the next couple of days, I was going to miss, should I say, like the freshers week. And actually, we have to take a gap year.
Yeah.
So mom had left for the airport once the result came out, and we saw rejected by the first choice, University of Birmingham. And then Loughborough hadn't changed yet.
Okay.
So my sister Oyin, who is on the call, was the one who said, I think we should call them. Because the way it happens in our household, like if I go to this school, all my siblings are going to this school. If I go to everybody, so it's almost like I know she did it from a place of love for me, but a part of me still thinks it was also for her. But I love you and I thank you. So we called Loughborough University, and I remember crying on the call, I can't know where else to go because they're like, if you keep crying, we can't hear what you're saying on the other side of the call. Could you just compose yourself? And then I was like, yeah, I got 3 C's and and it hasn't changed on my UCAS. And they said the reason it hasn't changed was because they didn't have my GCSE O-level English results, and as an international student to be able to go to university in the UK, I needed a minimum of a grade C, and I got a B. So I said I got a B on the call, and he was like, "Congratulations, we're happy to offer you a place at Loughborough, but you would have to downgrade from the MEng program, which is the Masters in Engineering program I had applied for, and do the BEng program, but that there are opportunities during the year if I get a grade, I think above 56%, I'll be able to go back onto the MEng program." And I was like, are you kidding me? They're like, no, we're not. We need to send us a copy so that we can see it for ourselves. But congratulations. And because you're a minor, we're going to appoint you a guardian and la la la. And yeah, that's how I made it to Loughborough. I did. I mean, I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet, but I am. Thank me. My sisters ended up coming to the UK as well. So I just cleared the way. What can I say? Been doing it since 1993, since the first sister arrived on the scene, and it's just been, yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Wow. Well done. Well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so let's start with I'm sure you hear a lot about International Women's Day and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Does that even make any sense to you? Does that what when you
so
hear, what do you think?
for me, so obviously being in engineering is very male dominated. So I finished, even as you start the course in university, you notice the numbers. So I think we're 143 in our year.
Yeah.
13 of us were female. And you keep going as the higher you go, the less and less it just kind of thins out. And I remember even my PhD, if you look at the pictures from us graduating, I really remember about 4 of us. And then I joined the workplace. So started working as a graduate engineer, and even then, it's like even further thinned out. And I think that's when I really started like being a voice. Prior to that, I had experienced my own, should I say, share of inequality, still from a place of privilege, but it was still in my own sense. So, like, I know example I always talk about is when we were choosing what high school I was going to go to.
Yeah.
The high school I went to, Access High School in Calabar, is not breaking the bank compared to what parents are paying these days for school. But back then, for my parents, it was a lot. And there was conversations about whether I'd go to a public school because it's to be cheaper for the family. Whereas my brother, who is before me, went to this private school. So I remember feeling like, why does he get to go to private school and then I'm the one suffering? You know what I mean? Like, very early on, and just differences in the way chores were shared. And I remember my mom used to say, I don't know where you get these ideas from, these Western ideas. You're a girl. I don't know, mom used to say that a lot. Because I was like, why is he sitting down? Why is he not helping us in the kitchen? Things like that. Because I always felt like we all eat,
Yeah. So why should you be the
So
one?
why is it some people is just, that's your work, that's your duty in life, I get that. I'm not one of those people who think we're the same. I don't think men and women are the same. It took me a while to come to this place. We're not the same. So what is good?
When you say we're not the same, what do you mean? Explain.
We're not the same. So women are women. We there's many unique things about us as we are for men.
Yeah.
And like how we function, how we are, even our body, the way we're made up, so many wonderful things. We create life. So many things happen for women, I think, that is so different to men. Yeah. And I genuinely believe we're in different lanes. However, I think that when we talk about gender inequality, so I think most people think that gender equality, most women want to be the same as men. It's not, for me personally, I can only speak for myself, that's not what I mean. The way our society currently runs, or the way it currently functions, like equality means being being equal, so being like treated the same. Yeah. And I feel you have to account for some level of individuality in that. So some form of like, I don't know how best to explain it, but for me, I feel like there is a way we can achieve gender equality where men who have had like 170-year head start, because of the way things have always been, there is some way where there are fairer treatments and fairer systems, basically, that enable women to kind of level the playing field. Okay. So it's no longer back in the days where they were going to war on horses and like, killing with swords. These days, even like, for example, in professions we do, most of what we do is cerebral, is mental, even in engineering. Yeah. So even not seeing that many women in engineering, for example, we're no longer lifting blocks on our head, climbing, those types of things. So I feel like we've moved on in these type aspects. Yeah. Why it's so difficult for us to have conversations about equity? Somebody perfectly said in the comment section. Yeah. Like, so I think, for me, I'm not an activist, as you can tell from me speaking now. Most of the time, I just speak from my own personal experiences and things that have happened in either at home or in my career so far. And I just make up my own, like, should I say, views or opinions about it. Yeah. There are very few women. I think in the UK, when I left, it was about 12% of women in engineering. Wow. And as you go up in leadership, that number further thins out in leadership. Sorry, what did you say?
I said only 12 women. Only 12%, rather.
12% of engineering workforce is women in the UK. I don't know what that number is for places like Switzerland, where I am now, or maybe Nigeria. But I mean, I can only speak for the UK because that's where I spent most of my working years. So I worked in the UK. I didn't say that before. I worked in the UK professionally after my PhD for 7 years before I then moved here to Switzerland last year. So I've only been in Switzerland for 1 year now. Okay. And I would say there's more women in my current workplace than there were in like my previous workplace. But it's funny because even in my workplace, there are still like, initiatives that they're working on to improve that number and to bridge that gap. But we're still quite a long way off, basically, I would say.
Well, Deshola said that probably in your country there'll be less, maybe like 2%.
I don't know how many there would be, because Nigeria is such a mixed place where you have parents who don't believe girls should go to school. That is fact in Nigeria. And then you have parents who you'll be a doctor, you'll be an engineer, you'll be like they're professing all these things for you that even you yourself, you're so scared, like, oh my God, can I actually live up to this type of level of expectation? So I don't know what the percentage weighting is between those two extremes, but it will be interesting to know the figures
I still find it amazing. I don't know why, but I still find it amazing that in this day and age, people are still insisting that their children should be either a doctor, accountant, engineer, or something. I'll be surprised.
There are.
Really?
There are still parents, yeah, who I think some of it is from a place of experience, or some of it is also a way of reliving their own lives through their children.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if I could have done this, or maybe they saw somebody else's child become that thing, and it's just like, yeah, if I push my child well enough into this, then they end up doing this particular thing. If it was for example, my dad, his wish was for all of us to be in science in some way, and he kind of got it because my brother is a public health scientist. I'm an engineer. Minnie is in maths. She's more in finance. So she was in his mind. She's the one that sort of got away. And then there's Oyin, who is also a chemical engineer. So it's, yeah, he kind of got his wish. But I don't regret it because I do really enjoy working in engineering. Engineering is a global career and it's very diverse. Yeah. You can work anywhere in the world. Like, if you could be working in UK, you could be working in Nigeria, you could be working in Dubai, India, anywhere in the world where people need to live and, should I say, just exist, really. Yeah. You need some form of engineering. And I didn't really talk about it in the beginning, but I will particularly work in the construction sector, which I think is fundamental to our entire built environment and our entire society. Without buildings, you wouldn't have homes, you wouldn't have offices, hospitals. Sure. You wouldn't even have the manufacturing plants that then make your cars and your mobile phones, etc. So I feel like it really underpins like society. My dream would have been to go into the energy sector, but when I was in the UK at the time, international students, you need a visa to then be able to, so you need visa sponsorship and a visa to then be able to get a visa to work in a company. Okay. And I remember applying to the energy sector and I got so many rejections. It was like, at one point, it was just like, is there something wrong with me? Or is this like what everybody else gets? I started keeping an Excel spreadsheet of the companies I was applying to just so that I don't apply to the same ones again. Okay. And I started thinking like, I need to look at something broader. And I started looking in construction. And not many UK or EU nationals were applying to the construction industry at the time. And not many still are. They have a real struggle recruiting. So I applied and I got a job there, and that's how I joined the construction industry. I liked it so much.
Are you saying it's too late now to get into the energy sector?
No, it's never too late, and that's where the kind of stuff I do with Climate Now comes in. So engineering is very fluid as well. So I said it's diverse, but it's also very fluid. So by studying electronics and electrical engineering, you can always, I'll give you a perfect example. So for my PhD, I came up with a system for detecting damage on wind turbine blades. So wind turbines that generate electricity. We have these really tiny chips in our smartphones called MEMS accelerometers. And they help you with your MEMS, MEMS. So micro electromechanical systems accelerometers. They help you with your navigation. So if you use your Google Maps, for example, the orientation of your phone basically is usually a MEMS. And because everyone has there's increased use of smartphones, like how many billion of us have smartphones. The prices of those chips have become really, really cheap and affordable. And so now you can start exploring their use for other applications. And because they're so tiny, they're like the size of my fingernail, the tiny one there. They don't affect the aerodynamics of your blade. So you still want your blade to be able to rotate, nothing so heavy on it, so that it can generate more electricity for you. Okay. So basically what I did was using those sensors to try and detect damage on the turbine blade. So when your blade rotates, it also vibrates. And every mechanical structure in the world, in the universe, has a specific resonance property, a natural frequency at which it resonates at. So if you add weight to it, so let's say ice or snow, and it makes your blade heavier, that natural frequency at which it vibrates at can slow down. and you'll be able to see the difference. Same thing, if there was a crack that happened to that system, it won't vibrate at the same frequency again. And you'll be able to pick that up with these accelerometers.
Okay.
Now, the cool thing was that you didn't need a power supply to power this device. It was powered based off those vibrations, and then it sends the information wirelessly to somebody on the ground. So how they currently maintain turbine blades is somebody shuts down every calendar month and climbs up to inspect the blades and see if it's still good, in good condition or not. Now, the problem with that is when they shut down, they're not generating electricity, and they're actually losing money from that particular power plant.
Right.
So that was electronics heavy, you know, but for an electrical application, which is the wind turbine itself. Now, joining construction, I was more designing electrical services for your buildings.
Okay.
So what type of electrical system do you have? Are you having renewable energy on your own site, or are you connecting to the grid? And if you're connecting to the grid, how do the cables come into your site? Then in your building, how is it distributed floor by floor? So your lighting, emergency lighting, your fire alarm systems, access control, data, that kind of stuff. So very electrical.
Okay.
Now, I left that job after 4 years, and the next job I went to was looking at how we can use sensors to collect data from buildings. So the air quality in your building, the temperature in your building. So it was a government-funded project in the UK where they really want to collect more information about buildings. And why they want to do that is because how we currently design buildings is very inefficient. Okay. So we don't really have history of the previous stuff we've designed. We just know that we use these values for this square meter. But every single building use is different. Every single building function is different. But if you were collecting data actively, you would then be able to improve how you design and increase the sustainability and actually reduce waste of future projects that you design. So that's where they were coming from. But again, it was more looking at sensors for buildings. So that's electronics. And now I joined Hilti. I can't really talk about what I'm working on. It's more commercial, lots of patents and stuff like that. But it's back to that electronic space again. So it's very fluid, and I don't see it being like a difficult thing if I decide like I want to go back into energy or back into electricity. And it's also the same for other people who study mechanical engineering, civil engineering, really almost every type of engineering. You're quite easy to make those transitions, because if you think of as power plants, for example, you would still need a structural engineer involved in that particular type of project. So, but the stuff I do with Climate Now. So Climate Now, for those who don't know, is an online multimedia platform that tries to explain, you know, what climate change is, what are the technologies that are available to address these issues, and what are the policies, you know. I feel like I'm very grateful. I know I talked really negatively about oil in the beginning, but I'm one of those people who is very grateful and aware of how far oil has helped us advance, you know. So since the Industrial Revolution times and as we've moved along, oil really accelerated how we are as a society right now, how we function, being able to drive cars, being able to fly planes, you know. But I feel like it's come to a time where we now know that it's really harmful to our environment, really harmful and negatively impacting how people live their lives. So what alternatives are out there? And how can we communicate this clearer to more people so that they understand? But I think something the oil industry did wrongly, in my view, was some of them knew of these, should I say, disadvantages of it, but kept that away and didn't share. And I feel like those who are working in the renewable energy sector or any technologies that are tackling climate change, they need to learn from that and be more honest with the public as to what the benefits are, what we stand to gain by going for wind energy, solar energy, hydro energy, etc.
So
and what are the downsides of it.
Sorry. Why did they keep it quiet? Was it going to cost them more to clear?
I think it was a financial decision, basically, at the end of the day. So you have it's kind of like whistleblowers now. There were publications there, but they were silent back then when they raised their voices as to the negative impacts that these were having. It's the same for Nigeria as well. The reason why many of these companies are still able to operate is purely from a financial and economic standpoint, nothing else. So there's this absolute regard for actual human lives and actual ecosystems where someone can.
We can't hear you now. It's gone off.
I think it's for most of the renewable energy technologies, I think what we try and do on climate now is really get experts to talk about what they're working on.
Okay.
What are the advantages of these things and what are the disadvantages of it, so that we know now from the beginning, while in the early stages, and plan for them, plan mitigation actions for them, and just be 100% honest about the technology itself. So I host the videos, but then we also have podcasts as well. And it's my way of still staying relevant in that particular space, because it's kind of like a passion from the beginning when I mentioned why I became an engineer, etc. I remember in my UCAS statement, I wrote like, your university should want me because I plan to do great things. And one day I'm going to own my own power company. And I read that stuff, and I was like, what were you thinking? Like writing this stuff? Like, I don't know, but I wrote it. I don't have a power company yet, so I feel like my work isn't fully done yet, I
You
guess.
still, it's not impossible. You'll still own it if that's what you desire. But it's interesting when we're talking. I was saying to you that, all these climate things, I wasn't interested. I was like, what is all this thing about the climate? Until I can't remember the scripture now. I was thinking about, I can't remember this particular scripture, but it now occurred to me that God actually cares about the environment, because He created all these things too. So we have to be careful. We have to do our own bit to ensure that environment, the trees, and all the other things are safe.
Yeah,
For
I
us as
definitely
human beings.
agree.
Yeah.
I think it's in he put it in our care almost. We're supposed to look after it. We're supposed to protect it. We're supposed to enrich it.
Yes.
And sometimes we don't always do that. I'm guilty as well. So I'm not even going to act like, oh, I'm like the most, just a carbon neutral person. I still take airplanes. I still, eat meat. I don't know. I don't think that one is a tough one. Like, but I'm more aware of it. I'm more conscious of it, and I'm more seeking ways that I can actually reduce my own personal impact and do better.
But I think I guess the challenge most of us have is we think, okay, just me. If I stopped flying, for example, what difference would that make? But then it's not
I
about
think
stopping flying.
yes,
Stop flying, yeah.
it's more in moderation and thinking about bigger picture. And if everybody held this individualistic view, I don't think we would ever make progress. So just start for your own self, not because everybody else is still polluting, so you should also pollute. Like, it should make you feel good doing your own part for the environment. It shouldn't be whether or not, other people are doing it or not. Like you said perfectly, like it's our duty basically to look after the environment that we live in. We only have one of it, So I'm not going to preach too much on that, but I'll move swiftly on to the stuff around gender equality, which is what we're talking about. So for me, it all started off from volunteering as a STEM ambassador in the university. When I started my PhD, I was very shy. I know you're not believing now because I'm like,
I can't believe it. I can't.
but only people close to me knew how talkative I was. I wasn't very confident, be able to talk like everywhere.
But have you always been talkative?
Yes. So my mom, if she were online, she would probably come in at this point, because I always had an opinion about everything. It used to really annoy people, but I was always a talkative. I always had opinions about things. Some not always right. I'm not perfect, but if it was something on my mind, we're gonna hear it basically. But it just came like for professional settings, maybe because like I wasn't in Nigeria anymore and I was now in another country. I don't know, but I just got shy when it came to like presentations and these types of things. And so my PhD supervisor at the time advised me to start volunteering in schools where you go in and talk about what you do.
Okay.
And I started going in. So basically, because as a PhD, you will be presenting at conferences and you'll be expected to be an expert in your subject matter. And if you are not able to do that or convey the message across, it doesn't really speak well of you. It doesn't look good. So I remember taking my PhD to school kids and explaining to them what I do. And in the beginning, it was very scary, but as time went on, like I started enjoying it, because kids will ask you the most random questions, and it really make you think. And it also helped me practice a simpler way of explaining what I actually do, because that's something I noticed again amongst engineers. we tend to always talk in like abbreviations. We just assume that everybody else around us knows what we're talking about, but they don't necessarily do. So when kids start asking you, I remember one kid was like, I was trying to explain what I was doing with the wind turbines, and she goes, so you're like a doctor for turbine blades? I was like, no, I will be a doctor at the end of my PhD. She's like, no, because the blades can't talk. You're helping them talk. I was like, I had never, ever thought about my PhD in that context, but it is what it was. It was condition monitoring of wind turbine blades, but I never thought of it that way. And so I continued going for these things. But then I also noticed also like, in terms of career aspirations that kids had in the UK, not many actually had an interaction with an engineer before.
Okay.
And when you go to ethnically diverse schools as well, even that number drastically changes. Somebody hasn't come to speak to them before about what an engineer does.
Okay.
And I think just from a personal place, knowing the challenges and the stereotypes I had. So when I said I wanted to study engineering, I had like aunties saying, oh, she'll not get married, like it's too, why is she going to do men's career? Like none of those types of like way of thinking.
Yeah.
So I think I just had a bias. I know we're talking about breaking the bias, but I did have my own bias and I kind of just leaned towards that. So whenever people reached out to me on LinkedIn about wanting mentoring opportunities, etc., I just gravitated towards it, took it and ran. And part of me really enjoys contributing to somebody's like success.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even though they don't recognize me, I just say happy feeling. Like even like comedians I follow on social media.
Yeah.
Like seeing them like from just like their Instagram, then going to maybe like a few live shows and then going to Netflix. Oh my God. I feel this joy inside. Like I really didn't do anything, but just being a part of people's success, it really excites me.
Wow.
And so when I see young people who want to get involved in engineering, who are interested, I'm always super optimistic and super excited to be a part of it, because I don't know, that's just where I get, but it's a selfish thing, like I said, but that's where I get my own kind of like joy.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
And then, so yeah, throughout my career, I got nominated for awards for actual technical delivery on projects. So it started off with line managers nominating you and putting you forward for opportunities. And then from there, I started having this like massive platform where everybody wanted to hear what I had to say. So all the experience of going to schools, talking to kids and stuff now lended itself. Yeah. And so I started doing a lot more of like public speaking, but I still get nervous doing them because sometimes I just talk from the heart. And in our cancel culture these days, like there's a part of you that is worried, like, I don't really trust what's going to come out of my mouth because it's usually my first opinion about something. And even if I don't say it, my facial expression would be like, I remember in meetings, when I first started at my first job, I didn't agree with somebody's idea. And I would be in the meeting like, our manager goes, Ozak does not agree. I was like, I didn't say anything. He was like, your face. Your face said it for you. So then he has to go on. Can we hear what you have to say? And then I would say, but now I'm a bit more confident. I think the longer I've stayed in the industry, I'm able to voice my opinion. But I think it was winning the award. So I think that the most significant one was the IET, so the Institution of Engineering and Technology's Young Woman Engineer of the Year award in 2017. Yes, that was huge for me. And everybody on the call, any female engineers, I recommend you apply for it. I was told about it by Dr. Nike Folayan, who ended up being my, who provided my reference. They've just opened for this year. Please apply. If you don't do it for anything else, there's cash money. So for me, I didn't want to apply when she first said it, and she then said, oh, it was like there's 2,000 pounds or something, like 2,500 or something like that. I was like, say no more, say no more. I will apply. And I applied.
And you got it.
I got it. I really got it. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, I've been really blessed in my career.
What have you got? Have you won now?
Ooh. This is the trophy coming out the back, but I don't show off too much, but at least 10 awards.
Wow.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So that's more like personal awards, but there's also awards for projects I've worked on. So like the British Council for Offices. I was part of the team that designed the electrical services for some projects. And so projects win, but the company wins that award, basically. So I see the award collection. It really is a collection that I'm really grateful for, and I feel very privileged because throughout my career, I've really had people who have supported me. I work hard. Let's not get it.
Let's talk about that how old are you now, if you don't mind?
I'm 30. I'm 30 years old.
And yes, at that time, you've done a lot. I mean, you got by the time you're 20, you got your PhD. So
23, I got
23. Okay, but you started at 20, right?
20.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about the help. Did you receive any help from people? Did you have mentors?
Of course.
Have sponsors?
Of course. So in terms of my degree, for example, like I mentioned, when I came to Loughborough, I came in with 3 C's. My natural assumption was I was carrying the class. So immediately I made friends with kids or pairs who I thought were smarter than me because I want to know what they're doing to get A's to come here. I got C's. So aligning yourself with the right people who you admire, people who you want to be like, that really helped me. And so obviously by the end of first year, when I got my first class in the first year, I knew, okay, I just need to stick around with these people because I would go further in life by being around them. They're impacting me positively. Same also, I always make friends with people who are older than me and who have been through something before I am going through that thing, because I feel they're the best reference. They've been through this, they've seen this. So I had friends in the engineering course, of the guys, Inka, Tomiwa, who were all in the year above me, because they know these things. They've literally just done it. So why stress from the beginning again, all on my own, when I could get support from them? Same with PhD. There were times some software I don't know how to use. I had so and so. And something like me, when it comes to knowledge, I don't have shame. As far as I getting the grades, I don't have shame. I remember someone telling me, "Oh, you shouldn't." I went to ask someone for help, and he was like, "You shouldn't be taking this course if you don't know this thing." I said, "I know." Because I almost feel like disrespectful sharing the same class with you. If you didn't pass, I said, "I know, but can you help me, please?" As long as he's advancing me and I'm going to live from this place to the next, I don't really mind when it comes to knowledge. So it's the same thing with my career as well. When I started working, I made sure, like, there was somebody who was shadowing me, Mike. He was a contractor for many years, like 20-something years at the time I joined the company. He had been designing buildings. He knows these things, like at the back of his head, like it just comes to him naturally. So I aligned myself. It didn't matter to me that he wasn't a woman at that time, so at various points in time, I just tend to align myself. I feel like now more and more I'm trying to find more female role models because I'm at this space where I want to pursue like my things in my personal life, so like getting married, becoming a mom. So how have other women navigated this space where they still want to do their career? Because I really love what I do. I love that I'm contributing to society and advancing society through the stuff I do, and I love that I'm being rewarded for it. That's the part we don't talk about. Engineering pays you very well, and I'm very grateful. So it's like a balance, but I'm seeking more shall I say, women, specifically in engineering, who are going through this transition, who have gone through this transition. And I think mentors, I always had support from my mom and my dad. If it were up to my dad, I should be president by now. But the way he talks about me, sometimes I'm like, okay, I don't recognize this person he's talking about, but that's how he is. And I think you feed off this kind of like positive energy when you're giving it. And then obviously my mom worked and also like pursued her career to the highest standard she could. So she retired as a permanent secretary in her role. So I've seen how it can be done, but I haven't seen it for engineering specifically yet. So I'm still on the search. But I draw inspiration from women everywhere in terms of my everyday life. There are things, so like I just look at people and the positive things I like about them. I build and say that's what I want to copy, and the rest I say, okay, it's over there, because nobody is perfect. But my view is that if I'm able to collect this many positive things from different people, it can only make me a better person. But even like my line managers, my PhD supervisor, how I heard about my PhD and how I got my funding was through my PhD supervisor, who was my personal tutor during my undergraduate. So, having all these people there at various points to identify and say, oh, Ozak, I think you should go for this. Or I never planned to apply for a PhD. I was actually looking for jobs after my undergraduate degree. And he just said to me, why are you wasting your time applying for jobs when you can apply for a PhD? And I remember saying, can you do a PhD without a master's degree? He was like, with your grades, anything is possible. So I was like, okay. But if I didn't have somebody who told me that, I wouldn't know to make that application. So I would say I've been really blessed with really a strong community around me, a strong support system. And just watching my brother himself, like, he's like the perfect child, like always achieving, pleasing everybody, and like, funny, everything. So yeah, I don't know. So I've always had positive role models, I would say, around me. So that has really helped. In the workplace, I think because I love working and I love delivering and I love contributing, it's quite easy for me to find joy in the little things and just see where it takes me.
Okay, there's a question. Well, first of all, she said, I remember when I started going to construction sites in the 90s as a female, toilets were an issue. But the question was, what are the present issues females still face, in your opinion?
I know in places like the UK, it's almost like kind of a law. I don't know if it's a law, but I need to check. But for every site that I visited, so I did the design and then I go and inspect on site. There was always a toilet for women. It's almost compulsory. Yes, people complain, why are we putting a toilet when there are not that many of them who come into site anyway? But that normal backward way of thinking is no longer accepted.
Why would anybody complain about that? So they want to figure that.
And that's the thing about this topic about gender inequality. I feel like whenever people talk, there are biases that exist that we all hold, even us women towards other women.
Yeah.
But mainly when we talk about in favor or against, usually when you're comparing men and women.
Yeah.
There is the bias element, there's unconscious bias, there's just structures for how things have always been done that some people are comfortable with. But then there's also this negative energy around it where people equate one group asking for equality as an automatic loss for them. Rather than having this collective view that if everybody is treated fairly in our society, has opportunities to advance and access opportunities, it only creates for a fairer system for all of us. Absolutely. So I think most people not most people, but those types of people tend to assume that by us making toilet, why are we going? It's like extra effort almost, as opposed to fair treatment for other people who are not like you, who are not in the dominant group, who are not in the in group, to then access opportunities on site. I don't want to use the men's toilet when I go on the construction site. I never want to use men's toilet, period. That's just me. Like, so why shouldn't? But I think those sorts of changes have moved on. There's been progress in those sorts of changes on construction sites. I think most of the time, the stuff we still deal with is more the assumption or like perception about performance, so performance bias almost, that because the woman handling this particular task, it's probably going to be less than. So then that creates this way where there's like almost like a higher standard. You have to do so much more to prove yourself. To just be in the same, to be ranked the same as somebody else who's just turning up and doing the bare minimum. There's other topics like, gender pay gap as well. So that's where the conversations have moved to. And I'm very happy that we have moved from talking about whether we had toilets on site to now talking about equality in terms of pay. That's still a thing that has not been achieved in many countries, not even the UK itself. And many countries are still very far off from this conversation. In fact, just this month in Nigeria, there was a vote against a bill that would have allowed more women to take up more opportunities in governance and in leadership, for example. So those are the sorts of conversations we're having now. Like I said in the beginning, I think it was the World Economic Forum. This gender disparity is like there's a 170-year gap. So a way to go around it, we can't expect. I think I saw this analogy somewhere where it's like imagine joining a game of Monopoly. When every player in there has gone 7 rounds past go and bought all the prime property. And then you are telling someone to come in and use the same system, wait their turn and toss the dice to catch up with you who has gotten the property and gone around go 7 times. It's never going to be possible. So that's where this idea of equity and fairer systems comes into place. You need to have some form of, meeting people at their individual needs, meeting women at their own specific needs that then helps them access and unlock these opportunities towards this equality that we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
I see somebody say something about the gender pay gap in companies. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
It is. For the same job, the same opportunity, you're actually being paid less. I don't get it.
I don't understand it. I personally don't understand it. Really. It's so you're saying is that men are better than women, or men do work harder than women? It just
I really don't get it. I really don't get it.
don't.
And I saw like in the UK, I think they're going to try where most companies now actually put out how much a role, what the bands are for a role. And I think that was something that attracted me at the beginning when I was applying to my current employer, Hilti. So when I went into my offer meeting, I think that was what wowed me actually. And I was like, okay, I want to work here. So when I went into my offer meeting where they told me like, yes, they want me on their team, blah, blah, blah. The meeting, they just came in with an Excel spreadsheet and they said, these are our bands. If you're in grade this, you would earn this to this. If you're in grade this, I saw all the grades,
Right.
the lower salary, the higher salary. You, Ozak, we have placed you in grade this because of your experience, blah, blah, blah. And they listed it. And then beside it, it says, we've placed you on this amount because we believe it gives us room to assess your performance when you join us and then increase it to the upper band. And then you can go on to the next grade. So it was very clear. I had never experienced that in my 7 years working for the different companies in the UK. In fact, my previous employer was all types of shady. You know, I remember, no disrespect to them, it's just the truth. That was it. And I remember, like, I was staying till late one night, and somebody said to me, it's so one of the guys, he was leaving, and he said, it's so funny to me, like you got chartered, you're the only lead who is chartered, and you're the only one who seems to work longer hours, but you're the least paid.
Wow.
And I thought he was having a go, and I was like, well, how do you know what I earned? First of all, we've never discussed that. I saw what everybody pitched for, and you kind of pitched the lowest. And so, yeah. And I do remember when I got that job, during my interview, they were like, so roughly how much are you expecting? You know, because you just said we have competitive salary.
Yeah.
So me, I was looking at what I was earning in the previous place.
Yes.
You know? So I now said, well, for me, I really started really selling. So, you know, confident in the meeting during my interview. I was like, for me, I'm not going to move for anything less than about 40K. And the man they just sit around, oh, that's doable. I said, in that moment, I knew I'd messed up. You said, oh, that's doable.
Wow.
And I remember getting my offer, and they actually increased my pay from what I actually asked for. Okay. Which means now, obviously in the context of this conversation with this colleague, I now realized that I wasn't even scratching the surface of what I was supposed to be pitching. And then I went through this process of trying to correct it, which can be very difficult. And I had one of my most uncomfortable meetings I've ever had in my career as an engineer. And I took it very personal, and I held this bias myself for a while because it was another woman who was doing this to me. And I remember I went into the meeting and I said, I would like to request a pay rise because I have achieved this, this, and this. I've become chartered. And when you become chartered in the UK, there is a pay rise in most companies that is attached to that. Yes. You know, you've done like professional certifications and you've gone through the rigorous process to get that certificate. Yeah. And I have delivered X, Y, Z on this project. I have collaborated with this and this, and I delivered this. You know, I had my whole argument ready. And it was a predecessor who said to me, I'm so glad you decided to do this, because I remember in your interview when you pitched, I was so sad because you were our best candidate, but you literally pitched the lowest. So she reconfirmed what this other colleague had actually said. Yes. So she was like, but unfortunately, I'm leaving now, but I'll leave it for the person who takes over as an immediate actor to like prioritize. And then I go into this meeting with this lady and she goes, so what is this nonsense I'm hearing about you wanting a pay rise? Whoa. Whoa. And yeah, that's how the conversation started. And I remember feeling like, okay, and I made my argument, etc. And she said, well, I would ask around because I would want to hear from the other leads if this is true, if you actually delivered in all these areas. And I'll get back to you, but I just feel you're too young to be earning what you're currently earning now. Let's talking about wanting a pay rise. I just thought,
are you even allowed to say that? What nonsense? How can
And she went away, came back on the Friday, and she goes, so I spoke to everybody, and they had fantastic reviews to say about you. Your contributions to the project and to the team are unmeasurable, invaluable. However, I spoke to HR, and the decision comes down to me. And I just feel like I said before, you're too young to be earning what you're earning. I mean, yes, you're chartered, but so am I. So I remember saying, that's nice for you, but this meeting is to talk about me. I just got chartered now. And it's a period. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like we need to come back to this conversation in like about 2 years or so and see where we take it from there.
Wow.
And now it's my final decision. And as I was leaving, she goes, and woman to woman, for the record, this has nothing to do with you being a woman or being Black. It's just what it is.
Wow. 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 Like,
Yeah.
a woman that should be fighting for you. Oh my God.
Yeah. So that stayed with me. So don't get me wrong, I've had on the contrary, I've had bias situations in the workplace. So for example, the typical one is like men assuming because you're the female engineer, all of a sudden office housework is your work. So you're the one who's doing printing, doing scanning. But this one really hit me because I was like, here we are, all of us, you know, shouting for equality, shouting for, you know, fairness in the workplace.
Yeah.
And this is what I get from somebody who is supposed to be, you know, in my group, you know. But that then had this bias on me where wherever I feel like, oh, there's going to be a female manager coming in, I'm like, hey, I hope we get along. I hope we, you know.
Yeah.
So when we talk about bias, it's not just saying men alone we also have this bias.
I get a lot of people say that
every day. I have to challenge my own biases every single day because I do hold some of them. And biases come from a place of previous experience.
Yeah.
So things you've experienced in your past or things you've experienced or things, even from the media, we are fed messages every day.
Yeah.
Men are always equated to careers. Women are equated to family life. So even in terms of leadership, when you're a leader as a woman, you know, you are expected to be nurturing. You're expected to be kind. You're expected to be likable.
Yeah.
The moment you're assertive, oh, she's bossy, she's a bitch, she's this, that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's vice versa. It works that way. And we ourselves sometimes put this bias on ourselves. But for the most part, it is the cultures that exist in the workplace. So in that previous place where I worked, there was no transparency about pay, you know? So when you don't know, when it's not clear for you, you don't even know what you're pitching or how to pitch it, you know? Yeah. You're just in this unknown, no man's land, basically. So I think in my exit review, best believe, exit interview, I made my feelings known. And I did hear from my other colleagues, though, that they have changed like their policies drastically. I mean, I couldn't take credit for it because I'm no longer in the company, but I'm glad to do my part for humanity. No, not all heroes wear capes, is what I said. But I think more companies should definitely have exit interviews. So they're always complaining women are leaving our companies. Why are they leaving, you know? Speak to them. What were the things that went wrong? That's the quickest way to get the solution. I think I read somewhere that those who are often closest to the solution are those who face the problems on a much bigger scale. Yeah. So just ask them, how is life? How are you finding things? Do surveys regularly, you know, and really seek to improve the experiences that women have in the workplace. But yeah, I think the biggest one is on an individual level, just checking out our own biases.
Let's go back to this thing that you said, because I hear a lot about this. You know, we're talking about gender equality or inequality and breaking the bias, but that women ourselves, we still have a problem with ourselves. That women are supposed to help you, that we don't help each other.
I think it's also a bias point too, assuming that just because you're a woman and I am a woman, you should help me, you know?
Okay.
So, but also, I think most of it is effects of the patriarchy that existed before us. Yeah. You know, it's years and years, 170 years. I keep saying it because I was blown away by the gap. I remember when I first started about gender equality, I really thought that, you know, in the next few years. But when I read how big the gap is.
170 is a long.
170, and that was pre-pandemic. You know, pandemic has really slowed down all this drive around gender equality, all the, shall I say, initiatives that were happening. They've all been put on pause or put on hold. Yeah. So it's even adding more to that 170 years that that previously existed when we started these conversations about gender equality. I think for women who behave this way, it's just a byproduct of decades of sexism. Most of them are just repeating stuff that have happened to them, or some stuff that happened to people around them or they've seen. And yeah, and that's why I'm a big advocate of each of us checking our own biases
Yeah.
ourselves, because we do
But
hold them, whether we
I
like
guess
that.
so, because I hear some women say things like, "Ah, I suffered to get here or to get,
Yes,
so why should
yes,
you have it easy?" But if you
yes,
did suffer, you should help your
yes.
sister. It's oh well.
I understand what you mean, but at the same time, I still tend to hold more accountability towards men. And no offense to any guys in the call.
Yeah,
And that's because to me, they still hold the power of influence. So, like us now in our company, you can shout about equality for all you care. But at the end of the day, those who say yes or no to various policies, to various, initiatives,
yeah,
are those who hold the power and who hold the majority in the company. And on our boards, it's men.
yeah,
That's just what it is. So they hold more power in really helping us advance as equal members or equally participating members of our society.
yeah,
And until more of them admit that they do hold certain privileges and certain, shall I say, powers that
yeah.
may be, and they can use those powers and use those private privileges in a positive way, I don't think we will really ever move
Move
forward with
forward.
it.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
That's my opinion.
Wow. Thank you. Guys, do you have any questions for Ozak before we leave? This has been really good, really good,
I'm
really,
glad.
really good.
I feel like I just talked at everyone for so
No,
long. It's
no, no.
a unique way of doing. I've never done live before, but hopefully,
No,
uh,
it's been good. Seriously, it's been
all
good.
right, cool.
And
Thank you.
you've explained things in a way that I guess most of us have been able to understand and grasp what's going
Yes,
on.
I see people saying allyship in the comments. That's the perfect word
Yeah,
to actually
yeah.
everything you said here.
Allyship is key. Yeah, that's right. Someone asked the question. Yes, I saw a question that um, do you feel it's okay for, let me see if I can find it now. Um, okay, what do you think about someone using the word you guys in a team meeting where perhaps you're the only lady at the meeting?
Okay, so this one, no disrespect to anybody on, because it's my personal answer to this question.
Okay.
We do not care. I do not care.
I do.
It's the list of my problems in the scale of things that I'm dealing with personally. I say you guys in
I do
meetings.
too. I do too.
Some
I
women,
just
it
think it's a
really ticks
big
them
deal.
off. I just feel like, come on now, we're trying to get equality in governance.
Yeah.
We're actually trying to get the roles. We're actually trying to get this money. We're actually trying to get, I just feel someone calling me you guys is the list of my list of priorities. Maybe when I get to this comfort zone where I need to be in the things out there, like on the list, where we're all treated fairly, then I will start commanding. Maybe they call me hi lady or hi Ozak. But for now, saying you guys, for personally, it's not a problem for me, because
I
I
personally
say
don't
you
think it's a,
guys.
I don't think it's a
It's
problem. I use you guys even when I'm talking to my
no, but in engineering, quite often I see these comments on Twitter when people are having this like heated exchange about gender equality. I just feel sometimes, this is my opinion, but then again, this is me being dismissive of how other people feel. So
yeah.
just because they're not there struggling equal pay, maybe they're getting equal pay in their company, maybe. But I just feel for where I was, this was the least of my problems. Somebody calling me a guy, hi guys, or addressing an email as you guys in a
Yeah.
meeting, because I do it too. So different strokes for different folks, but I just feel, yeah. Becky says, yeah, call me guy, but just pay me well. I think that's also the same place where I'm coming from, where I just feel I've not yet unlocked this level of, like parity, where
Yeah.
I can actually connect on conversations about whether somebody called me guy in a meeting or not.
Yeah.
I would prefer if you didn't talk over me or repeat my answers that I just said,
Yeah.
But then for me, there is like a hierarchy of things I would like. So for me, I would like equal participation in lawmaking and governance. I would like free from sexual harassment.
Yeah.
This type
But
of,
can I ask you this? Have you ever experienced that at work?
personally, no, but I have friends who have in the
Okay.
workplace.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a reflection of how I dress to work or something that I'm not. Honestly, I haven't. I don't know why. I thought I want to. That's not really wrong. but I'm grateful to God that I haven't experienced that in the workplace.
Yeah.
But sadly, I joke a lot about things, but sadly, there have been colleagues who have, by senior managers, who maybe you go on a trip together, work trip, and they proposition you where it's almost suggested, like, I don't know how I would deal with those situations. Like, even just thinking about it sometimes, I get like really shivers down my body. Like, ugh, like, I don't know how I would handle such a situation. But in my experience so far, I'm grateful that, like, I haven't experienced that. But like I said, those are the sorts of issues I think that are more weight, inheritance, women do they have equal access to inheritance of land or property, etc. I just think there is a list, of really high level. It's kind of like the same with race, where really messed up stuff is happening on the racial front, and then it's then reduced to a hashtag, or reduced to, oh, we're no longer putting, I don't know, anti-Juni on our packaging anymore. Who asked for that? Like, really, who really asked for that when you're still killing people? I don't know. I just feel, for me personally, and maybe because I'm an engineer, there's a logical order to this. Yes, I hope to be in a position where we are now addressing those types of surface stuff, but I just feel like the really big stuff that would really enable people access opportunities and just live a fairer life in a fairer society, we haven't dealt with them yet. That's my opinion.
No, that's good. Okay, sorry, going back, because people are having this conversation about this you guys thing. I guess, yes, maybe for an older generation, older aunties, they may find it rude. But I think most people generally, they don't think there's anything wrong in you saying you guys. I don't think. But maybe, yeah, I mean, won't say you guys to my, I would say you guys to my mom.
I'm not my bias. I always come in the room like, hi guys. Like, it's just, that would be, yeah, maybe that's something I need to check. Who knows? Maybe somebody's actually offended by me saying that. But that's, yeah.
But I think I would say everywhere. It depends on the room I walk into.
Yeah.
So if there are older people there, maybe uncles, people that I would consider uncles, aunties, I probably would say, hi guys. I would probably say, good afternoon, hello everyone, or something.
Okay.
I guess one has to be careful. Okay, then last question before we go. What of a situation where someone sees your name as Dr. Esu and automatically assumes you're male?
That happens a lot. And being in engineering, I won't lie, I use it to my advantage. The number of times I walked into a job interview and people were expecting to see a white Turkish man. Because Ozak Esu is not really, people would ask me, where are you from? It's the Nigerian name, Koshiba, South.
Turkish man.
But yeah, I'm not going to be sad about something I cannot change. It's who I am. I like being Dr. Esu, like my brother. I like being Dr. Ozak. So I just, I feel like there's so many things that can actually make you feel sad if you really sit down and micro-analyze it.
Everything.
And I don't want to get to this point where I feel so helpless, because there's literally nothing I can do. I can't control how somebody perceives me before I even walk into the room. How do you deal with that? How do you change that? You can't. So I would rather focus on the things that are within my control in some sort of way, What am I doing to ensure that it's an easier workplace for other people coming in? I give excellent feedback in exit interviews. What am I doing to ensure like there's more representation of women in my workplace? I do a lot of mentoring. I do a lot of support. When people reach out to me on LinkedIn that they were applying to my company, I will give them the 411. You need to do this, do that. I mean, people say, oh, my daughter is interested in engineering but doesn't know anybody. I'm happy to offer my time to speak to you about engineering. So for me, those are things I feel like I can do, but perceptions of me, how I am is how I am. I'm comfortable in how I am and who I am. I know I'm Dr. Ozak. I say it to myself in the mirror whenever I'm feeling doctor. You're a doctor, like, to just really hype myself up. And as long as I know that, I did a degree. I studied for this. But somebody else is trying to make me feel small. Sorry. Don't get your own degree. Don't come and bring your own stuff to me. You can't, I don't know. That's me. That's my coping mechanism, basically.
I love that about you.
But how I cope. But no, many times I remember I was applying to Red Bull Racing, and I went in and the guy looked like, oh, it was like 3 guys, like, oh wow. I was like, you're expecting a guy, right? They're like, no offense, but yeah, name kind of threw us off. I was like, I love the surprise, the element of surprise. Didn't get the job though because I didn't know the parts of inside the car. That's not a stereotype. That was just facts. I didn't expect them to actually bring out the Red Bull car and start asking me what the names of different parts were. But yeah, I do like that element of surprise that comes from people not knowing. Not everybody is advantaged to have that again. So that's my own little privilege, and that's how I always choose to see these things. Like stuff, it can always be to your own advantage, depending on how you feel about it and how you see it yourself.
Yeah.
But there are many times that some people you will say, "Oh, my name is Dr. Ozak Esu," and they'll go, "So Miss Esu," and like, you want to try me today? It's okay. It's still going to be doctor because Doctor University has declared they stamped this since 2016. You cannot come and take it from me in 1 second. I will always be Doctor Ozak for life, and that's some period. There's nothing you can do about that. So I just let it go. I just push it.
No, I think you've got the best attitude. Seriously, you've got the best.
Oh, thank you.
That's
thank
fantastic.
You.
That's really fantastic. So, if you guys don't have any more questions for Ozak, we're going to end this conversation soon. But she's been fantastic. Really, she's dynamic. She's dynamic, seriously. And that's why we love her. That's really why we love her. Can we please appreciate her and just say, well done. Wow, look at all those awards.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes,
sponsored by my mom, and my dad, all my sisters and brothers. Shout out Southside, Cross River,
And yes, please, it's Dr. Ozak for you. Yes, we love her energy, really do. And I love this thing that you just said, hype yourself up, because people wouldn't do that for you, but when you've done, you achieved, and hey,
you know how hard you worked for it, you know
you worked for it,
what you went through.
Oh my goodness, I was in Nigeria a few weeks ago, and I'm sure you guys know Dr. Onuzo. Most people know Dr. Onuzo, and he said to me that someone told him that you don't give your books away for free. So I was like, that's that, but he said no. Then you put in a lot of work, a lot of effort into writing that book. So why should you be giving out the books for free? I said, thank you, sir. That's it. I'm not giving out my books for free again. Because I think sometimes we're just trying to, let me get this thing out.
I think a lot of times we tend to be dismissive of the hard work we have put in because we don't want to seem as if we're bragging or showing off. But it's your achievement at the end of the day. I think for me, it's been gauging when to really put it on, and be like, I'm a doctor, or when to be quiet about it. And I don't always get it right, even me that I'm seeming confident on this Instagram call. But sometimes, there's sometimes where you just be proud of, inside at least, I am always proud of, because I know where I came from arguing about going to a private school or public school to being here in Switzerland, in a multinational like Hilti, it's mind-blowing. So hard work to get me.
Proud of you.
I'm proud of you too. Thank you.
And one day you're going to own, what was it, your energy, is it energy company?
Energy company, energy company.
Yes, one day.
Amen.
You will own.
That would be awesome if I actually achieve that in this lifetime. But, other things like I want to do between then and now. So let's see where this journey takes us. But thank you so much for having me on the show.
Thank you for coming on.
Everyone for tuning in. Hopefully you got something out of it. I feel like I told lots of stories, but the goal was that different stories will somehow inspire different thoughts and different thinking after this conversation, basically.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us. See you all next week. Bye.
Bye.